Good morning, Michelle.
Hello.
Thank you for agreeing to go on my heel hot seat. I'm really enjoying getting to know everyone a little bit better and hearing a little bit more about each of your stories because I realized I don't actually, know a lot of people's background. I know I've worked with you, I've worked with most people, um, but there's things I don't know and that I think people will find really interesting, and I know that I will. So, I'm really loving this sort of period of going a little bit deeper into people's gifts and areas of passion and things. So thank you, Michelle Wannan,
That is okay.
jumping in our heel hot seat today.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so recently, Michelle came for a session when I was in New Zealand, and and I got gifted some pieces of magic. Hang on, how can I get this so that you can see it? Oh, damn it. I'm going to post these into the group. Okay. Oh, I don't know where they're
It's
like
quite a cool effect though.
a cool effect. I look like I'm in another dimension.
Yeah, you do,
Oh,
you
oh,
do with
oh,
the art
he had a
morphing.
moment. He had a moment. This is insane. This is the number one piece. This is a trilogy. I won't try and do that with all of them because that's clearly not working. But but I'm gonna, if it's okay with you, Michelle, I would love to post these into the group because they just have blown my mind. And so Michelle gifted me with three channeled art pieces and light language to go with each of them. And so I have sat with them. So I hold them. I am sometimes I'm meditating with my eyes closed, but sometimes I'm actually just observing and looking at them and seeing what I'm drawn to. I'm just going to put a headset in. Um, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I just allow that to kind of work its way through me, and I'm getting lots of different sensations and heat and cold and sometimes vibrating and things when I'm listening to it, and it's sort of intensified by the imagery, and I'm super interested in how you came to discover this part of yourself.
Well, that is really in part thanks to the beautiful Samantha May,
Mm.
because I had done a couple of her workshops and been to a number of her sound journeys. This is a few years ago now. And then when she had the first light language mastery, I was like, no idea about any of this, but I feel really called to join in. And so joined the beautiful group of women with that. So that was probably, I mean, I have probably delved into some more spiritual aspects myself at different sort of stages over recent years, but this was probably the first time of really going in, having no idea what to expect. I'm like, light language, like I don't even know what this is. I don't even know if I'd really heard light language, or if I had, it would have only been a very small bit and wouldn't have really known. Certainly wasn't speaking light language myself or drawing. I'd been doing a lot of writing and sharing poetry online, and sort of expressing myself that way. And then did the light language, which was all online, beautiful group of women. And at different stages, people's sort of light language was coming in. And what I was finding is I didn't have any sort of light language as such verbally coming through, but I started to do these little doodlings. And first of all, it was just like a little wee journal. And then my son was out surfing out at Piha every week regularly. And then I started to do drawings in the sand, probably looked like a right Fruit Loop while he was off
Like all
having
of us.
had a stick there, and I'd have music with my head in my headphones, and I'd just be in a complete zone doing all sorts of different, I guess, imagery and just random things and placing shells. And to be quite honest, I actually just felt like my inner child really having a play and being able to be free to express. And then yeah, I think I ended up having a conversation with Sam actually and saying like, no, like languages come through, but I think I might have shown in the group possibly a couple of the drawings, and a couple of people had found them quite activating. And Sam's like, I think that's actually like coded art. And I was like, what? I don't do I don't draw, I don't do art. And
Wow. So you're not like an art background.
no, not at all.
Wow.
Not at all. I've kind of like doodled in the past, but I'm talking like really not even. It had always been writing for me, even as a kid, that had been the way that I'd express myself. So through writing, and then it kind of evolved from there, really. I remember there were certain moments, like really poignant moments, where they had sort of like the Roe versus Wade overturned in the States with
Mm.
in terms of like with the abortion and things like that. And I had this like, all I'll describe it as like a sacred rage within me.
Mm.
And I didn't even know how to express it with words. And I evolved from getting small little notebooks to then like unlined art pads and then bigger art pads. And I literally sat in a room one day with just like full on music playing, and I just drew and drew, and it ended up having like a visual, basically, expression of what was sort of sitting within inside of the sort of like feminine sacred rage. And it's kind of evolved really over time from there. When I look back at some of my original kind of smaller journal drawings, there's similarities, but I feel like they're quite different as well. They've become very, very fluid. Sometimes they're quite set, sort of not structure, but more geometrical. But often they're quite fluid. And so I just started doing it
Mm.
just for my own expression and pleasure. Really, just it felt like something that was wanting to be expressed. I would find if I was in nature or had music playing, it was incredibly activating for me. And then when light language came in, it kind of brought a whole other
Mm.
level to it. And then when I opened up the studio, I ended up bringing in Reiki and then having an offering of channeled art as well, where I was actually offering it for individuals. So that felt quite different, but it
Mm.
ended up, yeah, I absolutely love doing art for other people. Yeah. And that was
And
kind of it in a nutshell, really.
yeah, I find it amazing because I assumed, never assume, I assumed you must have an art background and that you've been, drawing for years and that this has kind of evolved out of what your natural gift is anyway. So that is amazing to hear.
Yeah, no, it was definitely the key thing would have been when I was doing Sam's light language, and when others would be sharing their light language, or Sam would be with different things that obviously I must have been finding on a much deeper level activating. I was just doing all these little drawings, and it's funny because even when I look back at them now, I get different kind of intuitive messages. I guess I remember one time being like really sick a few years ago and being like in bed in that kind of feverish state. And I just had drawings just like spilling out. I mean, I've got sort of like little pages through to sort of the main ones I do at A4 and A3, but I've got like a whole big box with them all just kind of in there. And sometimes I'll go for weeks and months not drawing, and then other times last year I kind of took the pressure off myself a little bit. It was almost feeling a bit overwhelming
Mm.
because it can feel quite. I think what it might be, I'm starting to recognize more as if there's a more of a spiritual kind of aspect coming through. Maybe that's wanting something to be expressed. It can get really enthusiastic. Is probably how I describe it. And I get into such a zone that it can actually be quite exhausting sometimes in the process. Like
Would you
three
would you
hours
call
later.
it would you call it a trance?
Yeah, probably is almost like I'm totally aware of what's going on. But say when I had your three pieces on the massage bed laid out and had a light language coming through for each of them, I think I said to you, I had my eyes closed, and I had different crystals that wanted to come in. And it's like I can hear my family and the rest of the house, but I'm so in a zone
Mm.
and probably in a bit of a trance state
Yeah.
where I'm just, yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, so
And
like
it's like something else.
semi-trance, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you have
yeah,
different stages of trance. You can have deep trance, semi-trance, and light trance, and I think probably you're going into a semi-trance, based on, say, for example, at my retreat in Auckland a few years back, when we had the workshop with
Mm,
Carrie Brightwell and the mandala drawing
that's right.
and yours was incredible. It was like out the gate amazing. And mine, I just feel like mine looks so basic. I felt really happy with mine, and then I looked over and I saw yours, and I was like, "Whoa!" It was just crazy. But also, you had the sort of deep trance unfolding there as well.
Yeah, that was definitely never experienced that before.
Have
Haven't
you
experienced.
experienced it since?
No, it actually took me, I reckon, probably about a year of almost being a little bit kind of shy, and I still am a little bit
Yeah,
when I can feel that because I think that had been building up before then, and I hadn't realized that I was actually slipping into as kind of quite a learner driver into maybe a bit of a trance state just when I was meditating or drawing,
mm,
or if I had light language coming through just in my own space.
yeah,
Because it was a sense of the same thing that happened before on the retreat. I went like real deep, and then I was like, whoa, okay, again aware of what
yeah,
was happening, but that was probably, I guess, what would be a really deep trance state.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So interesting. And I know those types of energies can sometimes be a bit scary. And what I'm noticing is that so many people are just having their gifts kind of like
mm,
explosively unfold. And we have to be really careful about that because, if we don't know what is happening, it can trigger mental health
mm,
alerts. It can trigger all kinds of things. Um, if we are not feeling safe with our gifts, if we don't understand what we're being shown, if we can't make sense of it in the physical realm, then we really have to kind of close that down a bit, which I think is what we did with you, is just
yeah,
closed it down a bit until your power grows to match the level of power that you have within. So your sort of power on the 3D plane has to build to the point where it can hold that power and still
mm,
be able to be in the driver's seat of it.
yes, yeah. And I think that's still a learning curve for me. I think I've probably evolved a lot,
A
but
lot.
there's still so much, I think, for me around personal boundaries, as you'd know, courage, but yeah, definitely the personal boundaries and knowing. So I think when I've had a couple of artworks where I was getting like, whoa, and I've kind of gone, hey, no, I'm going to have a break. I need to have a rest. Thank you very much. But I need to
Yeah.
have a rest and understanding that I've actually got it's not control as such, but that I'm empowered within, as opposed to
Yeah.
being kind of yeah, led. I'm actually,
Yes.
yeah, in that driver
Yeah.
also.
I agree, and I think that that is probably the lesson for all these people that are having their gifts unfolding very quickly. And even as we get further in, I have to, when I come to New Zealand, as you know, I work very long hours, and I barely leave the house for a week. And then at the end, I always go to my sister's to decompress and I pretty much completely shut down for about 2 days at the end just to before I come home because I kind of need that bridge before I come
I can
home
imagine.
straight back into it, right? Um, and another thing I've found just kind of quite incredible about your drawings, and I was talking about this with my sister because I took them obviously to her place for my last couple of days, and I said, check these out. What does it remind you of? And she just goes, Mum's ones. So
Yes, you said.
Mum in her 60s started, well, actually in her around 50, she started doing all this painting, all this insane geometric painting. And she, and most of it was pretty abstract, and some of it was a little more structured. But after a period of time, she started doing these sort of structured doodles. And I really want to, go and get some out now and have another
Mm,
look, because yours very much have this quality that immediately takes me to hers, and it makes me wonder if she was actually channeling all this artwork without realizing it. But I know that it became it's something she just had to do. She was pouring this outlet into paper and into canvases and wood and anything she could get her hands on, pretty much she was
wow.
painting on. And um and now I want to go and have another look at it. It's in a
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in a few different places, but now I really want to pull it out
Be
and have.
interesting to see, yeah, what the
Right.
connection is for
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna see if I can get my sister to at least send me a few pictures, and see if anything's downloaded when I look at them. So yeah, what about when I can't let's see if I can hold this. This is so, oh, okay. This is so frustrating. I might just even, I'm going to turn my background. Oh, hang on, just suddenly. No, I'm going to turn my background off. You're all just going to get my real background, because I all right, there we go. Now, look at this. So this is amazing. This is the third piece. For me, I actually see in this Greek mythology, and this is
Mm,
like a bow and arrow. I'm almost seeing like Greek god stuff in here. Um, and it's got this kind of warrior element to it, but very clean and clear, like the gods, I want to say. And then you've got all this writing, and look at this light that's still coming in. Um, Now, how does this come through for you?
at first, I'm starting to learn, I guess, to trust it more because it's hard sometimes where the mind takes over and goes, like, what are you doing? You literally, like, it's just sort of scribbles sort of thing. And that's almost how it comes out as well.
Coming through here.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know when I've seen other pieces that have either been channeled art or have got light language elements and things like that, and then with the coding, obviously there's all sorts of amazing different forms that people express through their artwork and writing, music, etc. But yeah, it literally just feels like I'm scribbling, but
Yeah.
probably in a little bit. Yeah, like that one there, that was the first one, and that was
Yeah.
the one that I kept taking breaks with it. I think I did that one over months
Yeah.
last year because yeah, there was a lot more within it, I guess.
Totally. And it
Yeah.
doesn't look like scribbles at all. It looks like language to me, like
Mm.
complete language. And I'll try and get
Yeah,
this a
that one
little
had a
bit
lot,
closer.
I think, didn't it?
But look at
Yeah.
this. There's nothing about that looks like a scribble.
Mm.
Look at this. This is like it's like a rune or a kind of hieroglyph. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me because when I was doing my first sort of like little journal drawers when we're doing Sam's light language, and I'd have like little sort of symbols or little geometric shapes coming out, and I didn't know anything about runes. I've actually got my runes ring on now because then I was trying to find things that looked similar
Yeah.
online to see if anything was feeling connected with Celtic and all sorts of bits and pieces. This is a few years ago. And then when I saw imagery of runes, I was like, with the symbolism, and I was like, oh my God, son, like, look at this. And he's like, that's just weird because, yeah, so many of them actually, and that's when I went into Wiccan and got myself one of these rings because there are sort of sometimes it feels like elements to that. Other times it feels I was saying to my dear friend Sarah the other day that quite often I'll get a feeling between a really deep land tribal sense and then they'll all like this it's I can feel her and like a and when she's expressed in a light language form in
Yeah.
terms it is just
It's
like I don't
crazy.
even know what the hell is coming through kind of thing, but she's an absolute beast.
It is crazy. She's
in the way
yeah,
of the land, and it feels
100%.
very, very, and that was who I had coming through before I was in that sort of more deep trance at the retreat. Um, it was, I had that visual image of her, and yeah, I've
Mm,
had a name that's come through along with a few of my other guides as well. And she comes through really, really strong, and it's just like this roar, like this absolute belly roar. But then there's this really light, which that your third drawing felt like, which
mm,
is it's like a combination of a sense of like really light galactic, but also with like an ancient Egypt type of, which I've had in quite a few of my drawings. I don't know anything
mm-hmm,
about ancient Egypt other than kind of what you would be taught.
mm,
Um, so I'm always really mindful of like, just my imagination kind of going off. But there have been things that I've drawn where I'm like, oh no, it's an absolute sense of, yeah. So there's quite often these
yeah,
really clear cut energies, I
mm-hmm,
guess, that
mm-hmm,
come through. And I've never really figured out if that's my guides that are working through, if
mm,
that's, I know I've had some drawings that have come through where it's obviously been, I'm in a clear space and it's, or I'm always ask for permission first. I don't just go and do a drawing for somebody else unless I sort of talk to them
mm,
first and got permission and do clearing, etc., and protection around all of that.
mm,
But yeah, there have been other times when I've had certain songs that I'm like, there's words or a song that I want to play that maybe hasn't been provided that I'm wanting to sort of put through, and then it might resonate with the person
mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm,
different ways, or a message or words that will quite often come through. And when I was doing drawings for other people, when they would come in and then book an artwork, they'd leave and I would create for them. I started to kind of be unsure as to whether or not, because I'd quite often get quite a strong message and I would see visually something quite clearly. Um, Whether or not to share that with them. So
mm,
I would always ask if they would like me to share. And more often than not, people were like, yeah, even down to the
awesome.
name of them. But then I
Wow.
started to kind of go, oh, I don't want it to end up then being that somehow, you're putting your own um, touch on something where they might be interpreting it in quite a different way. And it's a piece for them. It's got nothing to do with me, if that makes sense. I'm just purely like using my hand and the pen to put it out there, but
Mm.
as a channel, but not, yeah, it's not
But if
me.
you're receiving that, then that's probably for them anyway.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll usually just write a few words if I get
Mm.
something on the back with people that I know that I feel really safe with, that I can do speak light language with. I'll say if they want a recording, and I will send a recording through. And the invitation is to listen to the recording with their artwork, because it's obviously solely meant for them. But I don't speak into them otherwise. It's only for
Wow.
a few that I've done that with. Probably
That's
people on this
so
group
crazy
actually.
because I think that anyone who wants these artworks is going to want anything that you give them
Mm,
that is associated with that artwork because it's all part of the gift.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
and
Sometimes it sits there. Like if I don't, it has to come out. Yeah, it has to come out. Yeah,
exactly.
and that's what I
Yeah.
was saying with yours. It was quite clearly three different recordings it was wanting, with the
Mm,
third kind of sweeping through everything.
mm.
Yeah, God only
Wow.
knows if anyone had walked in with my family. I think my hands were all over the show.
Should have done a
They're going, what
video
is
of each
going on?
one. Love that. And so I just love all of that. And I guess like my final question would be, are you doing these? Can people commission one of these from you?
Yeah, absolutely. I put a pause on my wee studio that I opened up the year before last, partway through last year. I put a wee pause on it. So I closed kind of unofficially, I guess, bookings, unless someone had got in touch with me that knew me personally, or had been in before. So yes, absolutely they can. That was just because I was having a few health challenges myself, and some work on boundaries and surrendering, the two words that I get tattooed on my head.
That old
And
chestnut.
boundaries and surrender.
Uh,
And then just on the cusp of dabbling whether or not to publicly reoffer that or not, but certainly anyone within the group or yeah, is more than welcome to get in touch at any point. I absolutely love doing them. And whenever I think of, no, I'm not doing it anymore, yeah, I've got a piece I'm working on at the moment just in connecting with my gran who passed a number of years ago. So, yeah, I love doing it. Mm.
oh, fantastic. So if what I'll do is I'll put your deets and ways that people can contact you if they would like to have an artwork commissioned, and then maybe at some point we spread this a little wider. But
Yeah, yeah.
yes, only insofar as you're happy to do that. But
Yeah. Am I a little closed?
it'll go where it's meant to go.
Funny.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I've learned a lot today. And even people that know you really well, I think, will have learned something from you today. So I really, really appreciate you sharing
Oh,
um,
thank you for the invitation. Yeah, I think my main
story.
sort of thing is always just to say to people, like people be like, "Oh, I wish I could do something like that." You can, like,
Yeah,
it's not nothing sort of special that I've got in the way of particular talent or anything like that. It's just setting it in a child play, getting out pens or pastels or whatever it is that you love, playing with words, playing with
mm,
pictures and imagery, put some music on that you love, get out of nature and draw, look at the
totally.
clouds. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And I think, this is what I'm always trying to teach is to, the more we do it, the more we start to let go of making a fool of ourselves, of getting it wrong somehow, of comparing ourselves and our gifts to other people's, and we start
Mm,
to come into the trust that each and every one of us has a gift, has probably multiple gifts, but we are all able to shine in our own way. And the more we trust that, the more it will show itself.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And good, yay for the imagination, hey? What is it? You always say imagination's the gateway. That was just
It's the
like such
gateway.
permission slip, that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When we realize the imagination
Mm,
actually has a purpose,
yeah.
it's just so much more fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Our little inner
yeah.
child kind of does little somersaults of joy.
Yeah,
Mm,
totally, totally. Oh,
yeah.
amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thanks,
Mwah.
Mel.
And I am so grateful and I can't wait to hear what people think. Mm.
Lovely. You have a beautiful
You have a
day. See you
beautiful day
later.
too. Mwah.
Thank
Bye,
you. Bye.
darling.
See ya.